Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, live from Los Angeles, California, the only place where I've ever lived that's had more than two 4.0 earthquakes in less than 15 days. It is your host, Mr. Carter, a.k.a. Graham, a.k.a. You think you have the answers. I just changed the questions. Mr. Carter presents. All right, so today we have a guest that I'm super excited about, and stay tuned till the end of the episode. We're going to have an announcement about midway through that's going to be super interesting, and we're going to have an announcement at the end that's going to be a really big deal. I hope it makes you all laugh. But our guest today is someone who I've been waiting to have on the show pretty much since I decided I was going to come back and do more podcasting. Ladies and gentlemen, the person with the greatest rap handle I have ever read, Phyllis Driller. Welcome to the show, sir. How you been?
My man, what's up? How are you? I'm good, man. Doing my thing. I'm in here. I'm glad.
How's the weather where you are at right now? Because you're on the coast, right?
Yeah, I'm on the coast. I'm sorry for the choppy video, but the where I'm at right now, I'm in Port Hueneme, basically. So I'm right here on the coast, kind of in a good spot. I could tell you what the weather is like. Let me see. Oh, it's a nice little 64 outside right now where I'm at.
You know what's crazy is I feel like people who've never been to California are like, so everywhere's Los Angeles. And you're like, no, actually, most places are not LA, especially weather-wise. You know,
that's so funny. That is how it is. And a lot of people, it's crazy because they like out here, they market out here, like the realtors and all that stuff, they market it as 40 minutes from LA. That's
When I was in the Bay, people were like, oh, you grew up in Los Angeles. Did you ever meet a movie star? And you're like, yeah, dude. They're just like everywhere. They're like, it's not a big fucking deal. And they're like,
it's not.
And then people go, do you ever meet anybody cool? And I'm like, David Hasselhoff. That's not really cool, though.
Hey, that's kind of cool, though. That is low-key a good one. I was just talking about that with my mom recently because my mom grew up out here, too. She lives in Florida right now, but she was saying growing up here is the same thing. Like, even with the friends that she knows now, like, she just has to like reiterate to them that like that's just a regular thing.
Yeah. So tell me, where did you grow up, man?
I grew up in a lot of places. I grew up mostly in LA, and then I moved to Florida when I was in 6th grade. So I was there for a while. I went to high school there, and I was in Orlando, and then I moved back here like shortly after I turned 21, and I was kind of been here with my guys since then, and just doing the 7 Records thing and like just kind of staying over here. But yeah, I was born here.
So I got to ask, I noticed in your background that it looks like you got a bunch of vinyl records. How did you choose which records you wanted?
Okay, so what's crazy story. So this week is this was the first week I bought my first vinyl this week, actually. So what's crazy is that's the first thing I added to the studio because those are all my favorite albums. So it's like a tapestry. It's just like a cloth with all the albums. Somebody made it for me and put all the albums on it that I like. Yeah, but I chose them just because they're just my favorites to listen to regularly. Yeah, the vinyl story is I was trying to ask a friend of mine that knew vinyls and knew of record players and knew which ones to get and what to do. And I had bought a Future album, and his album comes out I think it's Thursday or Friday, one of these days this week. And it came on sale for the vinyl. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy the vinyl and I'm going to get into this shit. And I'm going to like see what it's like to hear things for real with that and like just kind of get my favorites and just start with my favorites and then go into the classics and things that need to be heard on vinyl.
Did it blow you away when you put it on the first time? Was it, because like I know that like some people are underwhelmed and some people like almost have an orgasm, like, oh my God, I've never heard this record before.
So what's crazy is I haven't gotten it yet. So the future album comes out this weekend. So like they're gonna end up mailing out the vinyls shortly after, I'm sure. So I'm just gonna be waiting for that so I can hear that. And then I've gotten to hear some things through my friends over the phone and stuff, and I can hear like the cracks and the like misimperfections and like all the little stuff. But I gotta do it when I gotta wait to go get a player when the album comes, when the vinyl comes finally.
So I gotta ask, because this is something I was talking about. I think it was with Uno, right? Like it seems like the best musicians are rarely ever at a young age listening to the music they end up making. So what was on in your house, and then what kind of music did you, in like high school listen to when you had your own time to listen to music?
Yeah, that is crazy because it is kind of like that. And shout out to my brother. That's my best friend Uno. I know he probably had a bunch of different things that he grew up listening to. A lot of it, I'm pretty sure, was like R&B and stuff. But similar to me, I did grow up with certain R&B and certain hip hop and rap and stuff. But what's crazy is on my dad's side, my dad listens to like alternative and soft rock and things like that. So my mom was the one that kind of put me onto the hip hop and the rap type of stuff. And growing up in LA first and then moving to Florida, it kind of messed up what I knew about music like early. So like I started getting into Southern rap and trap music and all the type of things that go on in the South. So that's really what I grew up and where I like gravitated toward like making music or thinking about like making my own music or humming to stuff and kind of rapping to things is real like based off of like probably like all the hip hop and rap that I heard when I moved to Florida. But alternative and rap, really, that's all I grew up listening to.
It's so funny that so just to like I will make this full circle. So when Billy and I first started talking, right, I think the first thing we talked about was I had posted something about anti-Semitism, which is certainly like just top of mind for me for the last year. I don't know if anybody's noticed that from my news feed. Like it's kind of a big deal. But Billy was like, I think Billy was one of the first people to like one of my posts. And I was like, oh, that's cool. We were just talking about it. He goes, yeah, I grew up around a bunch of Jews. You grew up in LA and Florida. You grew up around a lot of Jews. Okay. Like there's what was that like for you growing up to, because I think that one of the hardest things about being Jewish is there's just a lot of people who've never met a Jew. So like, what was that like?
Yeah. My brother, rest in peace, my brother, he passed away in 2019 and he was Jewish and he was adopted. So when I started being around his like actual family, like once after being with us and he kind of like started getting into like his real family and like understanding like what they stood for and like the things that they grew up doing and like all their stuff, like he grew up in a Jewish household for the most part. So like when I found myself in their family and kind of hanging out, I would just pick up stuff and I kind of just learned about his private school and I learned about things that they had to do on weeks in and weeks out and holidays and all kinds of stuff. And similar to me, we were both mixed. And this is when I say my brother, this is one of my like really, really close friends. So we got together young. So I want to say 8th grade going into 9th grade. And he like was a mixed kid that was kind of trying to get into the public school. And he was in private school for a long ass time. So he didn't understand. And like us being cool at that time, I was already like from LA and I like came out to Florida. And like, I was just like, bro, I got you. Let's just like, I'm gonna show you what it is. Like, so we just started kind of showing each other stuff and it was cool, man. It's good to get perspective, man. Just like what you're saying, growing up in all these different places, you're around all kinds of people, whether it's Jewish people, all kinds of different stuff. And I think that feeds into the reason why I'm so just open to things and just like outgoing with all kinds of stuff. Like, and I just don't really like, I don't judge by anything because I have so many friends and different like dialects and different formats and all types of different stuff.
Well, the reason why this kind of popped into my head all of a sudden is you were talking about that it was your mom that introduced you to hip hop, right? And like this is a super funny story. So my mom was like 40 when I was born. So my dad was like 60 when I was born. Super weird experience. And my mom was she was a professional like painter. She went to art school. She was a designer. And then she decided to become a psychologist because she didn't have enough to brag about at the dinner party. Right?
That's so funny.
I remember this very vividly. She read something in the LA Weekly, then took herself down to the Compton swap meet in like 1990, bought a copy of NWA Straight Outta Compton from a guy that she didn't know was Eazy-E, brought it home, and then played that shit. And I remember the first time I heard Ice Cube, I was like, I don't know what this is, but I need much more of it in my life.
That's the feeling that I felt when I got to Florida. Like I started hearing weird stuff, like different things that that weren't reaching California. And I was only 10 years old, so I didn't really know anything. And once it was put in front of me, it's same vibe. I just was just like, all right, this is it.
Like, what is it? Because like it's so interesting because for a long time it wasn't until like I don't know, like 99 or 2000 where you really, I mean, you certainly had Outkast, but that was like as deep into Southern rap as you were gonna get in the mainstream. So like, what is it that people from the West Coast don't understand about Southern rap music? Because like it came on real strong, and then it like I still think it's misunderstood in a lot of ways. So what is it that people don't get?
I can't speak for everybody because, like I said, I still was born here. So, like, I adopted a lot of things from Florida, but I did learn a lot of the history and a lot of things. But when it comes to, like, mainstream stuff from Florida, it goes, like, it's, like, Trick Daddy and, like, 2 Live Crew shit, like Uncle Luke and, like, shit that was, you know what I mean? Like, those type of things that were staples to, like, the world rather than just what Florida was. But when I can only speak for when I got to Florida, but when I got there, it was like the influence of, it wasn't just Florida, just like you said, it was the South, but like Boosie, Plies, Rick Ross, T.I., Future was even a person that I got into really, really early, like around 2010-ish. And it's those like early years of being in Florida, that's when I heard of all these different types of artists, and I'm sure I'm missing a bunch of different ones, and if I didn't say like T-Pain, I think that was a big one for me. That was like a huge one. It was just like, okay, like there are people like Ace Hood, that's a big rapper. If you ask anybody from Florida about Ace Hood, they know who that is. Like then you kind of get a little deeper, and then it goes to Kodak and the people that are still kind of around today, and they've been in the spotlight for 8-9 years. You know what I mean? It's like, for me, it was those type of people that kind of shaped it for me. Like people just don't understand that where you grow up isn't the only music. You know what I mean? It's just not. That's the only thing I can really speak to, because it's hard, like when it comes to like speaking on like Florida history and like all those types of things, because I don't know particularly everything about why people weren't put on from Florida during the time that I was growing up.
Sure.
And once I got there, it was in my face. So it was just like, okay, I think it's like being able to travel and be open.
Yeah. I think the other part of it too is, LA has such urban sprawl, right? So being a neighborhood band isn't a thing here. Like if you want to get over, you've got to go over to the Valley. You've got to come over to the West Side. You've got to go down into Long Beach, and that's, Miami has neighborhoods, Fort Lauderdale has neighborhoods, Atlanta has neighborhoods, and you might start in there and then you have a built-in fan base, which then goes other places and tells people about you. Whereas in LA, you got to go somewhere else just for someone to notice you,
Exactly. No, exactly. It's just a different market. And especially now it's crazier because of the whole streaming thing and just everything, the way that music is like received now, it's just different. So you can kind of get songs everywhere. Back then, like I remember hearing T-Pain for the first time as a kid and having to try to keep Googling who it was and try to figure out where the lyrics were and all this and that. There's so many ways to figure that out right now. I could Shazam it. I could do anything to figure out what a song name is right now. I could type like in 2 seconds, but before it just wasn't like that.
You were talking about Trick Daddy and T.I., right? And like, I remember the first T.I. Music video I ever saw, 24s, right? And I saw how that Jewish kid from LA was like, I can wear my hat like that. I could not wear my hat like that. That did not look good at all. And I remember at the time just being like, what the fuck is this guy saying? Because it's all in code too. Like, so if you don't and it became like you said, this cool game to go online, look up the lyrics and try to like backwards decode what he's actually saying, you know?
Yeah, man, that was what it was like when I was growing up. That's how it felt. Like it was like finding the lyrics, understanding, like that was studying for me. Like I think a lot of people can attest and relate to this. Like if their parents ever told them, you memorize lyrics better than you memorize what I'm trying to tell you to do, or your schoolwork or anything like that. I don't know how many times I've been told that, like, just because I just only cared about, even if it wasn't making music, that's all I cared about was having an iPod on, like, and just fucking zoning out.
Some kids got books. Like my brother, you couldn't get him to put a book down. I mean, it used to drive my parents insane. He'd be at the dinner table reading. It's like, if you're obsessed with, I don't know, like this, like I'm not a dad yet, and we're working on that. And like, I'm just one of those dudes that's whatever my kids are obsessed with, that is what I'm going to support them. Because like, if you're making music, you're staying out of trouble. If you're reading a book, you're definitely not in a whole lot of trouble. So.
Oh yeah, you're probably staying out of trouble. But yeah, that's the thing with books though too, is like it takes people to a different place. So sometimes they feel like that's their shit. So like they just don't want to escape out of that. So I do understand that too.
So you said alternative music. Tell me what alternative music was on in your house, because I listen to your music and I do hear a lot of like very specific influences. So I'm going to be curious if those are the ones that you were actually listening to. So what alternative music was on in the house?
So it started with like, do you know who Sponge is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it started with that. So my dad is like, that's, so you can kind of understand the type of realm, and then it goes into like the more softer stuff, like the Foo Fighters, Third Eye Blind, and those type of. Then my dad, he went to the Coldplays and the U2s and then I kind of got to the Linkin Parks and the Limp Bizkits on my own, because that was more like rappy to me. So that was my shit. And then then I still like.
I hear a lot of U2 in your music. It's like it's very broad, and there's a lot of complex little ditties that if you're not listening, you totally miss them.
Oh yeah, I appreciate that, man. And I appreciate you listening, because that shit, like, yeah, that's one of the things that like I don't consciously do, but I get happy and I get like excited when people tell me that they hear certain things, because it's just, I don't know, it's just relative things to people just make people feel good. So if it reminds somebody of something, it's like, okay, cool. Like I'm glad. I want to be original, but I also want people to feel like something that they felt before, like, wow, this is dope. Like I really enjoy this.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like and by the way, shout out to Black Truffle TV, who's in the chat right now.
Real quick though, shout out to Key, my brother, label mate.
I think though that like there's also this as an artist, you want to be seen, and you want to be seen in your entirety, right? And I think that when people notice those little things, like when people go, oh, I really like your lighting. It's like, yeah, because I've been watching movies my whole life, and all I've ever wanted to do as a photographer was tell you a story with like one picture. So of course I study like lighting. That's so funny. Yeah. So just a follow-up sort of question here, because it's really kind of a big thing that's in the alternative space. How do you feel about Linkin Park's new singer from Dead Sarah? How do you feel about her?
I don't know anything about that. I haven't been keeping up with it. So, how do you feel about it? Is she nice? Like, is what she replaced what
Chester?
Chester's spot? Yeah.
So
Okay.
I think it was really, I don't
That's
know.
I don't know how I feel about that.
So I had really mixed feelings. So I love Dead Sarah. I love her other band. It's a
Okay.
phenomenal metalcore band, right? And
I
you're
haven't heard it yet.
yeah. But I mean, like I would when they said, okay, we got the lead singer from Dead Sarah. I said, well, I guess that makes sense because like Chester's voice is oddly feminine, right? When he was singing,
Yeah.
right? And I was like, it's going to be really hard for any guy to kind of match that pitch and that cadence. And so I was like, I guess that makes sense. And then I listened to the single and I won't lie to you, I was blown away about how good it was, right? It's called The Emptiness Machine, and it just feels like Meteor
I'll check it
level
out.
Linkin Park. It's really, really good.
Good Meteor. That's day one shit. That's where it started. So it's if it's that vibe, I'm cool. Like I'm a
it's really cool because it's like it's clear she's not trying to be Chester, which I think is really good. And then when they play the songs that are because they did like they like rented out like I guess a place out by Burbank Airport and they put like 100 people in there and they did like a really small show for their friends and family and it's like played all the classics and when she is doing the original stuff, the stuff from Meteor, the stuff from Minutes to Midnight, she's doing Chester. She's not trying to change it in any way or alter it, and she can hit those pitches just right, so it works out well, I think.
Hey, well, that's good. I mean, hey, if it works if they like it, I love it. If it works for them and they don't feel any type of way about it, they're the ones that should say it. You know what I mean? If you can't replace somebody or you can not like that, but just in business, like band wise, like, yeah, like, okay, you got to put somebody in there so that they could get these shows done and all that. Because, bro, you got so many hits. You can't just keep skipping his part on every song in every show you do. You can't do that.
Yeah, ask the Doors how that worked for them for the next 20 years after Jim Morrison died, where they would just have random singers come in. And it's like, yeah, you're not going to replace it, You
can't do that, yeah.
So it's kind of a follow-up question here, because this has actually been a hot topic. Sanctus and I talk a lot off the chat. We talk a lot in the chat, too. Uno's in here. Hey, Uno, man. We're gonna have you back on here soon.
What up, ganger?
So, you were talking about this, and I think this is really an interesting standpoint, which is if it works for the band, then that works, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of questions right now, I think, about how much we let the audience impact art. And what is your take on that? Like, do you make music for you, or do you make music for the audience?
It's tough. I guess it's really, really, it's tough because, as an artist, I want to make songs for people, but I also, there are also times where I make songs that are just for me. And, I think what it comes down to is having backing and having my brothers and having people to listen to the songs. And when the time comes, everything we record. So we just record songs. And then when it comes down to time to put albums together and put things together, then we look at what we have and we kind of piece it together. When I was, if not the best in the area, he might be the best person ever at doing it. So we do this shit like for real. So it's like when we put the songs together, it's like, all right, like, we'll decide if they're album songs or if they're just a song that isn't for the people, or if we don't like, if everybody in the room's not feeling it, then it's probably not a song for everybody. Like it might, you just gotta trust the people around you. Cause if you only trust in yourself, then that's when you making music for yourself and dropping music for yourself. That's when it becomes a problem, because then you just either dropping everything or you're holding everything because you're too like self-conscious about it and you're thinking too much. And it's like, okay, cool. Like, no, you just got to create really. And then the songs that go to the people are the songs that the people get to get.
That's so interesting that you all just record a bunch of music and then it's like it's light, and I'm about to lose any cachet of cool I've ever had in the show. Not that I had any, but it's like a Magic the Gathering deck. You take what you have and you put it together and you make something, right? That's so interesting. I guess I've never heard of anyone doing that way. Like, was that how you came up making music, was through that process, or was that something that you were already doing? And then when you met Uno, you're like, oh shit, this person does it the same way. Cause I know there are artists that are like, I'm going to sit down and record this one record. I'm going to do 12 tracks for it. And that's it. Right. Like,
yeah.
How did you come about that process?
My brother that I was talking about earlier, my brother Danny, that's the one that's Jewish. So if you ever hear me say D or Duke, that's my brother. He and I started doing music together, and it was more like not like, oh, let's do 12 songs, but it was more like just create and see what we come up with, and then we kind of stack songs. So yeah, it started like that, and then after we kind of stopped, I moved back to California, and then I was with Uno, and I was with all the homies that are with us with 7 Records, and Matt, I don't know if you know Matthew Aaron, he's one of the producers and artists that's with us, and he like handles a lot of like the shit that we do, and his work ethic is insane. So he just works at a crazy level. So when we would do these, like, I want to say in like 2015, I think we started doing these exercises where we would just like put on beats, and then like for 15 minutes we would just write, and then whatever we came up with, we would just go, and like we would make songs together, and then we'd make separate songs, and we'd do stuff. So we just got used to stacking songs. So it kind of it's always really been like that. Yeah.
It's like training. That's like literally like lyrical athletics, right? Like, okay, we gotta put a beat on, and we gotta drill to it until we got. That's crazy.
Yeah, everybody been through it, damn near. Like all of us have been. Like if you're part of 7 Records, you've been part of some type of session where shit's going up, where everybody's like just recording, writing, just going all day for the whole day.
There's a lot of jokes about Diddy I could throw in there right now, so we're just gonna put those to the side for legal reasons.
Yeah, no Diddy.
I'm not gonna touch that.
We're gonna no Diddy that if it's needed there.
Yeah. I have such respect. I mean, because like this is the thing that I think most people miss about art, and I'm really glad that Black Truffle TV isn't here, because like I say this about his interviews all the time. If you want to be good at something, it is a motion, whether it is a mental motion, a physical motion, like photography. The way you get good, shoot a million pictures. If you want to get good at interviewing, talk to a million people. And you see this in Black Truffle TV's like work. That dude takes such care in the way that he asks questions and interacting with his guests that it's like a craft that he's worked on. And that's like, it's wild to me that like I love when I see that, because it unlocks my passion in any other place. Like I'm just like, oh shit, when you're around someone that like drills that hard on things, you're just like, oh dude, that's the coolest shit ever.
Yeah, man. I think all of us kind of, that's something that we all kind of share in common, is that we all kind of are, whether it's obsessive about the songs or obsessive about making this thing a thing, like making our 7 Records collective something, like, or putting effort into our podcasts, as you understand, putting effort into the shows that we write and the things that we're coming up with behind the scenes and the movies that we shoot and the music videos we shoot and all this stuff. It's just, I think that's, like you said, it's just practice. And for us, we've been doing it for a good amount of time, and that doesn't mean we know everything, but we know a lot. So we kind of just keep trying to find new ways to reinvent things.
Yeah, tell me. All right, so because we've used the word drill here a lot, and so when I first saw your rap handle, so people who don't know, if you have never watched the Golden Girls, the people right now who are younger than us are don't know what the Golden Girls are probably like, what the fuck is the Golden Girls? But it's a show about a bunch of old ladies, and Phyllis Driller was on it, and she was this very famous Jewish stand-up comedian who was just, I mean, she would just destroy people. And I'm just, like, did you know who Phyllis Driller was before you chose the name Phyllis Driller? Because I saw that and I remember just like falling out of my chair laughing. I was like, that person has to have hugest balls to call himself Phyllis Driller.
There's so many people, like, I get it every time somebody literally figures out what my name is. They literally, like, we all don't really say it out, like the full name out, so everybody calls me Philly, obviously. So it's just like they don't really know what it is. I either get somebody that asks me, "Are you from Philly?" or if I say Phyllis or Phyllis Driller, then they ask me if I know who it is. And but when I made the name, I knew that it was like a person, but I didn't know anything about her. I grew up knowing what the Golden Girls was and like all that stuff. So I didn't really like know much about her, but I knew she was like a comedian. I knew she was on that show and stuff, but I didn't really think much of it. And I kind of just, when it was a weed strain actually that actually started everything. Yeah. So yeah, it started like with that. And then like I started like, it was like, I don't even know, man. It was really honestly like it just came, like it was just making a play. That's how I know I had heard the words before. So like it just came out. It was just like, I think the weed was called like Super Phyllis, Crazy Phyllis, something like that. And like we were smoking it, and like just during the time I thought it was funny to say something, and I was like Phyllis Driller, and then as I started saying it, I was like, damn, that would be probably the craziest name to use ever. Like that would probably be like, that would be the one. And I was like, you know what? I was in the middle of rebranding too. So I was just like, this is right before I met. Well, I think it was like around the time that I had met Uno. We kind of just, that the first time I ever dropped a song as Phyllis, it was like, and we were under 7 Records at that point.
but you got like 40-year-olds at your show just like, I see you. I know who I get.
The shit be happening. That should be funny. And people just like, I got friends like parents that like hear that that's my name, and then they just start dying laughing. They're like, that's crazy that you did that. Like I don't know. I didn't think much of it when I did it, but I was just like, hey, it was a good conversation starter.
So I wanted to circle back to something else here, because you use the term brother a lot, and I have a big chosen family too. Actually, one of my brothers is going to get to be on here in a couple of weeks. When you guys get a chance, check out the episode that's going to have Brain Squared on it. He is a professional baker, and that's his passion. But like,
hey, that's lit.
Tell me about your chosen family, right? Because like I think that's such a big thing for people that people just don't have that, don't understand. Tell me about them.
So basically, I mean, when it comes to the chosen family, like that's most of the guys that you've encountered and had the pleasure of being around or doing a podcast with. But when it comes down to like, for me, when I like the term brother, to me is somebody that I consider somebody that I look out for. So if I look out for you and like I spend my effort and time while I'm super busy to like make sure that you're good as well, then you're my brother. Like, and anybody that's part of 7 Records knows that they could call me at any time to ask me anything. I could be at work. They all know that I've talked to them while I've been at work, off work, anytime. You guys can call me at any time, and they already know. So it's like those situations. And then kind of like you said, people get it like kind of adopted into your life, you know what I mean? And these people are kind of like, that's how the person that I call somebody that is like somebody that's as close to blood to me as a brother, that's the best thing I can give them in as a title of endearment, is to say my brother, like, and to actually mean it rather than like to say it to everybody and to, you know what I mean? I'll throw bro around, gang, this, that. There's a lot of different things that I'll throw around, and the people that's part of 7 Records know when we say gang, it's like it's us. We saying it to each other, but the people outside, that not everybody necessarily that close to us. Which I mean, so that's normal for everybody. Everybody has that outside circle that they don't know. So I kind of use brother as a term to let people know that these are people I care about, and that if something happened to them, it's up.
Yeah, it's so, because like it's so interesting. You know, we've all seen enough rap beats. I don't know what rap beats are, but rap beats or beefs. I know what those are. That's
rap beefs.
Too long. Yeah. And I remember, and I was talking to Uno about this when he was on the show. Like, if I had been physically standing, just in a room while this person was talking shit to Uno, it would have been Uno flying by my head at like 100 miles an hour with the rest of you all just right behind him while that dude was talking shit. And it was impressive, because there's so many times where you see rap crews where it's like, oh yeah, that's my brother, and that, like, as soon as shit starts popping off, they're not even on the same train together.
Nowhere to be seen.
Yep, I'm looking at you, G.
Nah, we didn't been in a few. Yeah, this didn't happen before.
as his attorney, it has never happened before, and you have to prove otherwise. Okay.
Yeah. Allegedly.
Allegedly. Yeah. I mean, I guess the other question too is, and this is, this is a thing that I think Sanctus talks about a lot. Like, and you having lived in Florida, I'd be really interested to get your take on this. There was a time that, being real was really important, right? Like 50 Cent was the guy that you did not talk about because 50 might show up outside the studio and try and shoot you, right?
Yeah.
Like that was a big deal. And it certainly seemed at some point in hip hop that stopped being a thing. And I remember the moment where I first noticed it was Rick Ross, where it's like, you have a literal corrections officer pretending to be the world's biggest gangster. He literally absconded with another guy's name. Like, do you think that time in hip hop still matters? And when did you first notice that it was changing?
Noticed that I noticed that it was changing. I'd have to say, I'm trying to think, maybe around that same time, because that was kind of shocking to me too. Like, and then like the whole name thing, like you said, taking a whole person's name, that shit's crazy. Like, and then him being alive to be able to be like, why'd you take my name? That whole thing is just nuts to me. Yeah, that's one of those things. I think, I don't know. It's kind of hard because we've been around, like I've wanted to do this for a long time as far as being in the industry. So I kind of knew it was fake it till you make it. I've always known that. And I've kind of there's a lot of things that you just like, whether my parents have told me or like just certain things about hip hop that, like everything's not real, like, and everything's not going to be like real, like as what is portrayed to you. And I think things that showed me that were like Tupac writing on a napkin and, and doing his first contract on a napkin and just things those type of things, shit's not real. Like you have to be in it to understand how to get what you want. And I think to answer the first or second part of your question, do I think that it holds the same weight anymore? Absolutely not. Because people let a lot of stuff slide that they wouldn't, like if it were happening to them, they wouldn't let it slide. And it's just all those type of, it's just like shit like that. Like, it's like, you see things in the rap industry now that I don't think that everything has to be labeled as real. But the problem is that is being portrayed to people that you have to live what you rap. So this is one of the only genres where you have to actually live the shit that you do. You could go make a pop song today and you don't have to be doing shit about anything you're doing in that song, but it's okay. But for rappers, a country dude could have not break up with his girlfriend, but he can go make a fucking crazy breakup song tonight and it's fine. Everything's good. But if we're not living how we talking, something's wrong. So I don't know, like, it didn't change, but I don't think it didn't change much. I think it's just always been a facade, and you have to decide what part of it you're gonna live in. If you have a character on, like a lot of niggas that know me and all my homies that know me for real, they're not gonna like, they know that how I am in person, and then like around them and just in my house and stuff, and they know how I am out. Like I'm the zombie when I'm out, so I'm a whole different. I'm a zombie forever, but like it's a part that you have to play. You have to have that, because if you play that 100% of the time, you're not gonna like yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's Santa. This guy beats me to my punch every time. No more dancing in the videos, though. I'm old enough to remember, Death Row versus versus Bad Boy, right? And I'm old enough to have actually watched the BET Awards where Suge Knight actually came out on stage, and I've actually met Suge Knight once, and that man is, by the way, the most terrifying human being I've ever been in. I was just like, oh, you for sure have had somebody killed. But
yeah, hey man, he did it on camera. That nigga's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other thing that is just sort of crazy to me is like, if you take it out of the context of rap music, it sounds ridiculous. Tufts got into a beef with the Temptations and they beat the shit out of him. You'd be like,
What?
The fuck is that?
Yeah, that's nuts. Like that's crazy as hell. That would be one of those ones. It's like, bro, it's just kind of going back to what you said. It's just I don't think that the realness in it is what's fueling it now. Like that's what people want, but I don't think that you're like 80-90% of these people that of the songs that are popping right now, they're not talking about shit, or they're talking about some shit that not everybody can do. It's not like it's not a bunch of relatable shit going around. Like it's not a bunch of relatable music going around right now.
No one's ever written a rap song called "I Started a Podcast" and it's got 7 people on it right now. That's not a number one banger in the hood. Okay, I get it. You know, I guess.
Hey man, we growing together.
Yeah, I mean, I also think though, like, you know, to a certain extent, Diddy is a great example of, you know, I remember reading this interview with DMX, and they said, "Did you do all the stuff in your stories?" And he got real quiet, and you know, he said, "Absolutely not." He's like, I have been around a lot of that stuff, but you know, I'm not going to snitch on myself and put it into my music. Diddy was putting it in his fucking music, where he was like, "I'm having 37 hoes over later," and you're just like. He's like, "And I'm paying the money, and I got 1,000 bottles of baby oil," and you're like,
"That's crazy." hey, that's see, just based off of connections. There's not too. I can't say too much.
Sure, of course.
So I just, already know how it go.
Yeah.
But I just, So like, I pray that Brother Love handles his business. That's all I can really say.
Yeah, and I mean, like the other thing too is this is the nasty part of the internet, right? Like I feel like we're all rooting for somebody else's downfall. Like I work around the criminal justice system, and nobody I know is like, "Man, I can't wait to see someone spend 15 years of their life sitting down away from their family." Like that's someone's whole life, and that person's got a family. That's fucked up.
Yeah, that is fucked up, and that's a lot of things. Like you see a lot of cases that happen like that, whether it's hip hop and outside, I mean, just in general. But yeah, that's I agree. That shit's crazy.
So, okay, let's change gears away from Diddy for a second, because we're going to leave that over there. But when did you first, like, were you like, "I'm going to do this. I'm going to become a rapper"? Like, when was the first moment that you were like, I'm taking the steps to actually get this done. This isn't something I'm dreaming about anymore. I'm not like reading about somebody else's life. I want this to be my life. Like, when did you make that move?
Well, probably pretty early. Probably around like 12th grade, maybe, like probably around 12th grade, like 16, 17 years old. I kind of knew what I wanted to do. It was either I had the grades to go to school, and I just didn't want to go. So I just kind of knew then and there. But that's like the normal, that's like the normal thing. But as far as like really knowing, probably while I was working on my first project with Uno, I remember us sitting in a park, man. He could probably tell you this story too. I remember us sitting in a park, and we were looking for beats for me to finish, because at the time he wasn't making solo music. And we were just sitting in the car, just he and I just sitting there at this park trying to write songs. And I was just like, "All right, like I'm gonna just write this one, and you just gonna sit here with me and help me, and like if I get stuck, I'm gonna ask you this and that." And like I think it was like helping gain my confidence, because I had left doing music with my brother at the time, and then kind of came out here and just was kind of understanding that I could do music regardless of where I started doing music. I could still keep it going. I have other connections. I think just being with Uno and just kind of just punching the gas and just saying, "Hey, we're going to work on a project," like, and then really put the project out and then work on a second one. And it was just a snowball effect. Once you start doing something, you see people's reaction to it, and you start putting music videos out and doing things with your brothers all the time, and doing shows and opening for people. And it starts snowballing. Like it kind of just came to us. So, I mean, we worked for it, but it worked out.
Oh, I mean, like listening to this story, and like I had Uno on, and I think we only scratched the surface, and Uno's coming back on with Mike Valley to talk about that project. And like, I don't think surface, but like the price of passion is something that I really believe in, right? Because like I do this, there'll be an announcement later on about some other stuff that I'm doing. That's called foreshadowing. But you know, I'm also a photographer, and like the price of passion is that you are so passionate about the things that you love that sometimes you're going to miss out on things that other people who don't have that passion don't have. So what are some of the things like that you have had to give up for the passion of making music?
I mean, not much that I feel like I had to get, it's not much. Stop, go over there, get out of here, go, stop bothering me.
Like, I'm a star dad.
I'm like, move, get out of here.
Let me live.
He wants to hang out. I'm like, bro, it's not time. Lay down. But anyways, the things that I feel like I never really had to give anything up. I feel like I just never put my all into anything else. I feel like not by choice. I just never, I didn't feel it all the way. Like basketball, I was halfway good. I was good at basketball. Like I was good enough to play basketball, play with high level people. And then I just, at one point, I didn't keep on working at it because I was doing music 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. Once I got to the point where music was just the only thing that I really cared about doing, it was just like, okay, I kind of just cut things off. You know what I mean? It really wasn't anything that I felt like I missed. Like right now, I haven't played basketball in maybe 4 years. I don't even think I've touched a basketball, and I could care less. Like I loved basketball. Like I literally, like anybody that grew up with me knows how much I love basketball. My brothers know how much I love basketball. I talk to them about basketball. We've all played basketball together, hundreds of games, had teams that we played with at the Mamba Academy and coached and all kinds of stuff. I love basketball, but it doesn't, nothing more to me, like means more to me than making music, like releasing music for people and handling what I have to handle in my regular life.
Yeah, it's you know, it's interesting because like the other thing too is it changes who you connect with. Like I have friends that are like, oh yeah, I met my wife at a bar, you know, and I'm like, okay, I mean that's cool. Like you met her at a bar, right? Like, but I like that was never a thing that I was gonna do. One, because I'm straight edge, but two, like I was too busy making photographs. So like if I was gonna date someone, they had to be willing to go and do photographs with me, right? Like that was like a first date question all the time when I would meet people, and so
that's crazy though, but that's how it has to be.
Yeah, because, you know, otherwise you can't breathe. So, like, let me ask a follow-up question there. Is there a Mrs. Driller? Is there no?
No, I don't. Right now, where I'm at, I'm kind of just, I got so much. You're straight edge. What's it called?
I'm still
That's
crazy,
so funny.
but I do not do drugs or drink, but I am still crazy. Who goes out here like
smoke some dope is crazy. The nigga smoke dope is crazy.
Oh,
leave it to the gang to let you know.
Yeah, no,
that's just so funny. That was the quickest no ever, bro. I wasn't even gonna let you get into it. I wasn't even gonna let you be like, is that nope.
Yeah. And you know the best part too is like people like when you're straight, people are like, oh, it's okay if I like smoke around you. Like, dude, I don't give a shit. Like, you do what you do, you know. Like,
that's so funny. We were just talking about that. I was just like, yo, I'm gonna smoke at some point.
Yeah, knock yourself out, man. So there is no Mrs. Driller. There is no Mrs. Driller.
No. There's nothing against it. But no, I just, you know, I'm still out here just doing my thing. I wouldn't put that on nobody and make them feel like they like, hell no, that should be crazy. I ain't gonna put them through that. But yeah, no.
If you had a dream woman, because you know, like so by the way, shout out to Luxury Trap God, who is like a marketing genius. By the way,
my dog.
Luxury Trap God was just like, I'm just gonna take people's Instagrams of them shaking their ass, and then I'm gonna just put a really simple message next to it, and you're gonna go do it. It's fucking.
He be having them. He be having those the drone videos following people around the hood and shit. I'm like, where you get these videos, gang? I don't even know. I gotta ask him because them videos be hard though. They be pulling up on people with a drone randomly in the hood. I'm like, hey, bro, that gotta be illegal, bro. But you know, that niggas ain't gonna call the police. They don't know what the fuck is that.
The FAA is like, we're looking for one Luxury Trap God. Does anybody know
that shit? That shit's so funny. But what was the question? I forgot. You said something about.
So if you could design a perfect woman, what would that person be like? And don't say Megan Fox, because that's such a generic answer.
Yeah, she fire, but no, that's a generic one. Shout out my dog MGK. I ain't gonna slide on this girl. For me, I think honestly, like when it comes down to like looks is something for me that actually matters. So I don't give a fuck if that makes me sound shallow or not, or to anybody. It just doesn't. I can't do it if I don't feel like I'm attracted to you. So that's regardless of what you look like. I have like a broad spectrum of types of girls that I fucks with. So it really doesn't matter. I don't have like a one specific dream girl. I got like a few Instagrams I could give you of girls that's fire. I'm not gonna give them to you on here, but I'll send them to you in the DM, gang.
That's the next show where I just like start bringing screenshots. So what about this one? No.
Hey, I'm trying to say, hey,
matter. By the way,
that won't get you in trouble, gang. My bad.
Yeah, no. I mean, my wife wants to do an intervention for Sanctus, right? So my wife, but let's back up a second. Anybody who says that looks don't matter, right, is just full of shit. Like they don't matter forever, right? Like when you've been with someone for 30 years, you're not going to look the same as you did the day that you showed up. And it can't be the number one drive of things, because you can be a beautiful person and just be a piece of shit underneath. And that I'm not fucking you. That's it. But like, of course it matters. And anybody who says it doesn't, I don't think is really being honest with themselves.
No, for real. And then honestly, like on top, like when it goes to the other side, it's like, of course, I just want somebody that's understanding and somebody that's supportive. Really, like that's not. I'm not like too complicated. Like I'm really adaptable to a lot of things. So this nigga, he crazy as hell.
Well, we're gonna talk about this on the next episode that you're on. We're gonna get into Uno fucks everything that moves.
Hell no, I'm not gonna let niggas do that. That shit hella funny. That shit funny. No, that shit hilarious. But yeah, when it comes to like as far as personality and stuff, like I'm cool with funny, not funny, want to talk, don't want to talk, want to be quiet, don't like want to be loud. I don't give a fuck. I just gang said give him up. I got you, gang. I'll send you something. I'll send you a pack of them things. That shit funny as hell. That's my brother too, man. Shout out to Sanctus, man. Shout out to the plug. And I mean plug as in Coast. We're not gonna keep on doing this allegedly shit. I'm not talking about that. Yeah. No, that's funny. Yeah, she gotta be understanding, man. Like whether, like you said, if I gotta go out and take photos, if I gotta make some songs, if I gotta do this, you gotta be understanding. Like that's as long as we can communicate and be understanding, I'm cool with it. And you look semi good, like to me, then we cool. I'm good. It's a dream one for me.
I knew, like the funny thing too is, like the straight edge people think you just like stay at home and you don't do anything. It's like, yeah, straight edge people are freaks. Like we have our vices. They're just not drugs and alcohol. Right. And I super laughed because when I met my wife, I was like, one, super beautiful. If I'm sure she's driving home from work right now and is probably just like, stop fucking talking about me because she hates being the center of attention. But like, I met her and I was like, oh my God, you're the only person on a dating app who looks way better than their photos, right? Because it's the other direction, and like
other way around.
Yeah, yep. Yeah. I was like, this is like a reverse catfish. What is that? That's a salmon, maybe?
This might be an upstream. This might be an upstream fish. Hey, don't get me started on the fish. Shout out to Michael Jackson. That man, he loved fish.
I mean,
funny.
Yeah, I think that like, you meet somebody and I was funny because I've been married before, and my first wife, right? Like we get along great. We're still best friends, but it's super weird. Like there wasn't that like aha moment, and then you meet somebody, they're beautiful and they got the personality, and it's like 10 seconds after I met my wife. Now I was like, oh fuck, I'm gonna marry your ass if you let me,
But see, that's the feeling too. That's something that I'm searching for if it's dream person. It's more or less dream feeling. It's like what if I meet a girl that make me feel different than I felt about anybody else, then what's up? But
I feel like I'm getting called out
was
in
weird.
chat here. This is the most lit my chat has been ever. Carter's room looks
I know
low
we
British. So my wife, I used to drive an Acura TLX that had a red interior, and my wife got into it the first time, and she was like, "Why does the inside of your car look like a sex dungeon?"
That shit funny as hell. That's hey man. You're not gonna like. You gotta not let people clown on your vibes. That's how we are. You know what I mean? That's the same thing. Like, you're not gonna clown on my vibes.
I loved her. I was like, "Yeah, but it's a really nice sex dungeon. Spend some time in it." She was like, "Touche, it works," you know. So, oh,
no,
man.
for real, that's so funny.
So, like, what do you do when you're not making music? Like, when you need to unwind, what do you do? Do you listen to more music, or is there like television shows and movies that you're watching? How do you unwind?
He said for sure, Marion, that is crazy. Because hey, you know me too well, gang. When I'm not making music, I work a lot. So when I'm not at work or making music, I haven't really been making much music, like a bunch of music, like how I have been in the past, like just because I've been trying to lock in on work and doing that stuff. But that's over the last like 2 or 3 months, and then I'm just getting back into it because I'm working on another album. But it's really just shows, like you said, really just shows.
Yeah.
Sopranos.
So Sopranos, because I know that you guys love the Sopranos, which, by the way, I think it's having a second renaissance. The fact that like so many young people are like, "Oh, I love the Sopranos," I'm like, "Yeah, about fucking time." You know,
this shit's lit. Yeah, no, that's one of the ones. You were asking what shows?
Yeah.
We watch a lot of HBO shows together. So like Oz, fucking Sopranos. I'm into like fucking like superhero type shit. So we watch like Disney Plus stuff, all types of shit that's on there. Entourage on HBO. That's another one that we watch together that we like kind of run back. And then we have like the little stuff that comes on in between that, you know, I mean, like if it's like a viral thing or like a big like a documentary, that's something that we kind of are all into, like documentaries on certain stuff, whether it's like what is it, like the 90s, like it'll be like Dark Side of 90s or Dark Side of Comedy or this and that. I'll be putting me onto those. And then we watch like the only other thing that I can really think of is comedy, because we go to comedy shows like and we go watch comedy, and then I watch comedy like all the time on YouTube and just have shit going on. But it's usually
who's your favorite stand right now?
Right now, my favorite stand-ups would be I have to think. Let me see. What I've been watching, I just watched Adam Sandler stand-up. It was cool. What else did I watch? Deion Cole's stand-up came out yesterday. So we were actually at that stand-up. So that was cool to see that one. That one was actually really funny and really fun to be at. Who else? I'm trying to think, because I haven't. Do you know who Kill Tony is? Or do you know who Tony Hinchcliffe is?
Yeah.
So I watch Kill Tony a lot. So that's why it's hard for me to think of like a bunch of actual stand-up ones, because I haven't really been watching stand-up per se, like actual big stand-up. I've just been watching his stand-up. You know how his show runs, right?
Yeah. And that's such a cool format, man. Whoever sat down and came up with
amazing
gold.
Joe Rogan. And Joe Rogan and him and them. They're all of them.
Interesting. I didn't know that he was involved in that, because I've only watched it in passing because there's like little clips of it, and I'm like, whoever some of these people are, they're fucking hilarious, dude.
Yeah, there's a dude named Cam Patterson. He's fucking funny as fuck. He's from Orlando too, and he just got big. He's one of the biggest people that's come out of that show. And I mean, they're the largest comedy show for like the last like 12 or 13 years. Like they've been the only comedy show that's been doing YouTube Monday for 10+ years.
Dude, that's awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna make my first announcement here, and then it's gonna dovetail into our next topic, because I'm good at putting pieces together. So a couple weeks back, we had Amber from the Amber Show on, and we are both huge Star Trek fans. And y'all may have caught that we were talking about creating a podcast. Well, it is official. We are just waiting to figure out the first date. we are going to start a new podcast that is all going to be about looking at Star Trek's in the current context of what we're looking at politically as well as socially right now. It's going to be called the Slipstream Podcast. It will be on Saturday mornings, so tune in and stay tuned for that. And that brings me to my next topic.
Saturday mornings, that's lit.
Yeah, man. We were like, listen, there's no real cartoons on in Saturday mornings anymore. Let's do this, you know.
God, man, that's lit.
And then, so let's talk about podcasting. How did the Iceberg Lounge start? Where can people find it? I want to make you guys some money because I know that there's like a premiere level. Tell me all about it.
Okay. It's the mastermind's idea. Uno. Yeah, that's Sopranos. I forgot. I didn't get to see these. I was like, oh shit. But so Iceberg Lounge started because Uno's he loves coming up with different ways to start shit. So we've had season 1 of our podcast, and it was called The Seven Spill, and we had it was just audio only. And then we had season 2, and we decided that we were going to do video podcasts at that point. So we did that one, and anybody can go back, and they're on our page, on our Seven Records page. And we did, I want to say like 11 or 12 episodes, something like that. And then we were kind of split up because we were doing it in the same house. So it was kind of easy. Like there wasn't any scheduling issues because we were all just in the house. But then once we all moved and we all had to kind of figure out how we were going to reset it up again, this was his brand and how he wanted to do it. The name specifically, that's something he and I came up with. He loves comics and he's Batman. So we kind of came, yeah. So we came up with something that kind of worked in the moment, all that. But people have to do their research to know what it really is. But yeah.
I mean, I've watched the little clips that are out. I will be signing up for the Patreon because I am a big believer in spending your money on smaller artists. Right? Like, if you want to listen to Fall Out Boy, fucking get it on Spotify. But your local
I appreciate it.
Needs that $15. Okay.
Yeah, man, that's dope. I appreciate that, brother.
So, like, tell me. Well, one. I have a question. I know Udo's going to light me up in the chat over this, but does Udo have any middle of the road opinions about artists? Because absolute dog water is my favorite probably description of
yeah. I can answer it by just saying yeah, but like I can't really there's shit that things that I just wouldn't say. Not that I wouldn't say that. I would say them. I just wouldn't say them on here.
Yeah, gotcha. And you know, like, how do you guys plan out episodes? Like, do you have, because like people don't understand, like podcasts, you have to have like a framework to work in, and after you do it enough times, you can keep working within that same framework repeatedly. But like, do you guys have like a show, like these are the things that we want to talk about, or is it much more freeform?
It is freeform to an extent. We have to because of how many people we have. Yep. How many people? I love his takes, by the way. So
they're phenomenal. They're Udo's wildly entertaining at almost everything he does. But yeah, you were saying,
he's one of them. Fuck, I forgot what I was saying. What was I saying?
Oh, we were talking about, do you have like a framework to work in? Or
Sorry. The reason why I forgot is because it has nothing to do with me. It's because I'm not the one that does it. All the credit goes to him, and we have to do our research. Like everybody has to do our research, but he does like a lot of the legwork, and like he puts like the categories together every week. So yeah, we have a frame every week, but I mean, that's really as far as it goes. We just kind of, we're all in it. Whoever's on the podcast every week kind of has a shared note, so they can decide if they want to add something to it, something that they saw or whatever that they want to talk about or whatever, or that's a pop culture thing or whatever it is, something that's news or whatever. If you have something you want to write and talk about, then we may get to it or whatever. But yeah, it's more of like it's more of a current event show. So it kind of, everybody has opinions and stuff, but Uno is the mediator and he handles what goes on. And that's what I was about to say too. The Patreon has different levels. So like we have episodes that are more in depth and kind of have different guests, and we talk about more we'll say more things than we would normally say on the ones that everybody can get at $3 level. And then at the $10 level, like he said, you get more pods, you get more things to actually like to feel like you're a part of the family and feel like you're part of the Iceberg Lounge. You I think the merch, you get things like you get
Netflix. Sign up for the $10 version, you all. Like that. Don't
exactly.
It was so funny because I bought the album from Uno, right? Because he was like, oh, I've got like, I think I bought 2 of them, right? And I was just like, no, just like keep the extra money.
Yeah.
Like you're an artist, you need this shit. You know what's great about being a starving artist? Fucking nothing is good about it. You know,
nothing good about it. It's like if people like your songs, that's cool.
Yeah. And like my whole thing is like, just don't, in the world where streaming is $15, like how can you ever justify giving less than $15 to someone whose music you enjoy or their podcast that you enjoy? That doesn't fucking make any sense.
No, I definitely agree. I appreciate it, and I appreciate the take, because that's a take that most people should adopt when they think about small businesses and small everything, like up and coming everything.
Well, and it's a machine, right? Like, you know, music, like I said, if you're Fall Out Boy, you don't fucking need, like, don't get me wrong, I'm gonna still buy your album, but you know, you don't need it.
Yeah.
You've already got $1 billion. You got Interscope behind you. You don't, you know, it's not the same.
Yeah. It's a different, if you're on a local level, it's definitely different and just feels different. you have to just keep working and keep pushing and all those things that most artists get when they sign to labels, like that. If you can figure out ways around that and figure out how to finesse like your own money, like not people more or less, but just finesse what you have and kind of get things that you need to get done, then that's the best way to do it. And that's, I mean, I'd tell people that for forever, you know what I mean? Especially upcoming artists.
So not a lot of people know this, right? But Ventura is a big small town, right? Like it is physically large with not a hugely dense population. And I take it that you all have to be at least locally relatively well known. What's the weirdest situation where someone has recognized you in public?
It kind of happens pretty often, but nothing weird that comes to mind. Maybe like Uno could think of something. If he thinks of something, he may put it in there. But
I just always think of Michael Caine meeting who was it, John Wayne, in a bathroom in Hollywood, and John Wayne was so drunk he peed on his shoes. You know? That's
crazy. John, that's crazy, is it? But no, I don't even know. Like I can't even think of one that was crazy. Like people are always really cool. Like I mean, we've put on festivals in this area like hella times and put on a lot of artists, and a lot of artists' first time performing was at an event that 7 Records threw, and like we kind of made a name for ourselves not only through music but through culture. So I think people, they can say they don't like us or they hate us, but they can't deny things that we've done for the cities. So everybody,
full transparency, anybody says that they hate 7 Records ain't coming on this podcast. Like, I'm just like, maybe I'll just put that as a screener question going forward. Like, how do you feel about 7 Records? I like them. Good, you can come on. I don't like them. Get the fuck out of here. You know?
Yeah, no, for real. It's like I feel the same way about people that say that about people that I give a fuck about. It's just like, and especially if they actually are knowingly putting in work and they're not hurting nobody. Yeah, just normally like telling me. Yeah,
fuck. Uno, Jesus.
Well, I told you. Yeah, that is Yeah, that's
I hope,
yeah. I
I'd
can't
hope
think
that
of
someone
anything.
who's got their dick in your hands is a fan of yours. Otherwise, you're about to have a really bad night, like really bad night. Something has gone
Yeah,
horribly
bro.
wrong.
Something's gone terribly wrong. Like no, like it's like that. It'd be usually like regular like fan cool shit. Like and not from everybody, but for the most time, like if they hear something or they like recognize us from somewhere, it's usually like, oh, you're like blah blah blah. Oh, not, like what's up? Like it's usually that. Nothing too crazy. I think niggas know not to do nothing crazy with us.
Well, I think you also like you can tell a lot about I don't know. It's really like internet fame in specific is so interesting. Okay. Uno's making this way more. That makes way more sense. I must have misread that because I was like,
Oh, that's what he's. Oh yeah. When he's in the bathroom, yeah, people do be saying.
That's definitely fucking weird. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
like,
that's funny as stuff.
I think you can tell a lot about somebody kind of based on their on their fan base to a degree, right? Like you see this all the time, right? Like Game of Thrones fan base was like super toxic, right? And I look at some of these let's call them other local acts, right? And you look around them and they are the people around them, it's like, you're not growing, dude. You're just all stagnant. And so, I imagine that it's very hard for people like that to be around you guys.
Yeah. It's a hard line to follow because we're in a spot where a lot of people do the same things and we're not accustomed to that. We all grew up in different places, so we make music differently, so most of our songs don't sound the same as everybody in this area, so it kind of that's how we kind of set ourselves apart, because we just stay true to what we do. And we've never like just been like we're LA artists and that's all we do. Like we just never did that. We rep LA, and if something comes down to it and niggas ask, like that's where we're from. But we're not about to sit here and just be like, we're trying to be the best local niggas ever. Like that's that none of us ever have said that ever.
Yeah, it's Key is
and shout out to Key because that's the realest shit ever.
Yeah, and he's coming on the show too.
What up, Auntie?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things where I was just thinking about this today, and I don't remember what the example was, but it was something at work where I was like, man, you can always tell how bad an idea is based on the people who adopt it, right? Like,
yeah,
like if you were in the company of Ku Klux Klan, David Duke, and Adolf Hitler, you're probably in a really bad, that whatever that idea is really bad, right? And like,
yeah, it's just terrible.
And yet people don't seem to apply that to people in their lives, where it's like, no, everybody around this person is a piece of shit. I wonder if they're a piece of shit. Like, why do you think it's so hard for people to see that?
I don't know. I think it's just lack of knowing, like lack of knowledge. People just haven't gotten out enough. It's like you don't have enough experience with people to understand when people are bullshitting or not. I think it's as easy as that, And I think when it comes down to product, I think things that that you can produce and things that you can come up and do. Like it would be one thing if we just came out here and said we were one of the biggest groups in the area, but we showed it and then we did it and then we dropped some of the biggest, like no disrespect to anybody, but like even like my brothers are all on the list that like even with like what Sanctus is doing, like trying to figure out with his stuff, like who has top songs in the 805 so far. We're like 9 months in, and it's like I haven't even dropped the project, and OG hasn't dropped the project. He signed to us, and we both have a song on there that we dropped at the beginning of the year. So it's like we do things that show that we're still them guys, but we don't. I don't know. People just don't. It's not going to translate locally, and that's what most local artists don't understand. You're supposed to want to translate globally and like worldwide. You're not supposed to just want to translate in the local scene. And I think goes back to like what you're saying, what people don't understand about music in general.
Has streaming helped that or hurt that, you think?
I think both. I think it helped people be able to listen to songs that they wouldn't normally hear in their area, but it also closed people off from hearing songs that they would normally hear in there.
Right.
So like the charts fucked it up. You know what I mean? Made it to where it's like you're only listening to these top ones, and if you've heard these top ones in this area, then those are those ones. And it's like the underground of music and what we used to have with mixtapes and Dat Piff and Hot New Hip Hop and all the things that we used to do with music before it was readily available to everybody, just streaming wise. It just, people had to do more to get out. And I think it just meant more because the grind was harder. So now people think that with streaming, they can drop a song and it's just out of there. But now you have to market. Now you have to have 10,000 behind your marketing every time you go and do some shit. Now you have to go put that money into music videos. Now you have to go do all this stuff on top of just dropping a song, rather than being an artist and hustling your ass off to get your single out and going to every DJ. And then every DJ starts playing your shit. And then you didn't spend nearly as much in marketing. Back then they wasn't doing that. They was hustling out the back. You know what I mean? They was just doing that type of shit. So it's like, it gradually evolved into that type of stuff. But I don't think that fucked up people's mindsets, so to say. You know what I mean? I think still, like, if you understand music and you understand the industry, then, and anything that you do, you grow with it. It's just like people that like tech. They had the first Apple computer, but I bet you they have the one that they like, that's right here. So they grew with it and they learned it because they were supposed to. So it's like, if you fuck with something, you're supposed to grow and learn some shit. But if you don't, then you go, like you said, the mindset's fucked up. So they just stay in the same mindset. A lot of the artists that you end up seeing in a specific area, they just do that because they're trying to get to a goal that's not the goal of music. Like,
well, and I think the music business is all too happy to continue to have people try to do what they did in the 90s, right? Because like then they get a lot of shit for free, right? Like if I'm a radio station, sure, drop your single, I'll play it on the air because I got free content. And guess what? Like most people don't understand the business. The thing I'm always impressed by your entire is the business side of the music business. You all understand that. Like no one's taking your intellectual property or none of that shit for granted. Like when did you guys first know that was an important thing to be literate about?
In the beginning, I mean, he kind of was like, yo, we have to kind of do it like this. Everybody wants to brand themselves and you always have a name and all that stuff, but to kind of make it more of a thing and like a business thing, that's kind of what I wanted to say. Like, don't get me wrong, passion and making music is great. And being a person that's just passionate about making music, you can make music even if it's bad. It doesn't matter. I don't want to put a cap on that. But when it comes to making it in the music industry and making money, that's business shit. That's different. So we realized early that if we were going to have a business, then we had to be friends. But we also had to have a business. So we're all friends. We're all really good friends. But I mean, we also run a business together. So we also have to know who knows who's doing this, who's more savvy at this, who handles this, who handles that. And then we just let each other rock and we play our lanes. That's how we run. It's like Wu-Tang, we're better.
I mean, Uno will appreciate all of this, but Uno is very much the rap Paul Heyman, right? Like he's very much got ECW going on. And I think that unlike ECW, I think Uno and your group has a real chance to go.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
So we're about an hour and 20 minutes into this thing. And I gotta say, I'm almost out of questions I should ask. I'm going to ask the audience to ask a few questions. And I want to make the second announcement of the day here, because I know that it's getting to be almost like 8:17. People got to get ready for bed. So hang on a second. Okay. I'm going to remove us from the stage here. And then we're going to play a video here. And then we'll come back and take questions from the audience.
In a world where truth means nothing,
They're eating the dogs.
In a world where Joe Rogan and John Oliver are hailed as intellectual icons. In a world where Hollywood makes the same shitty movies over and over and over again. From that world comes a team.
Wait, are you talking about me?
In the lineage of iconic teams like The Rock and Mankind.
Okay, well, that's not a terrible team to be part of, I guess.
Like Lennon and McCartney.
Okay, that's probably slightly even better. I could get behind that.
Like Sherlock and Watson, or Batman and Robin.
Okay, but one of those people in that dyad is really bad at what they do.
Like Steven Tyler of Aerosmith and the guitar guy from Aerosmith.
Hey, wait a second. I don't want to be the guitar guy.
Like Michael Jordan and, whoever else was on the Bulls.
I'm Pippen. I'm Scottie fucking Pippen.
Comes a partnership